Good morning. I'm Daily Journal Opinion and Sunday Section Editor Chris Kieffer, and I'm joined here by reporter Caleb Bedillion on a big day in Tupelo. It's the first time a sitting president of the United States will be visiting Tupelo since 1934. Of course, President Donald Trump will be in town to hold a rally in support of Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, who stands for election in the runoff to be held tomorrow against Democratic challenger Mike Espy. And so we're here to kind of bring you up to speed on the latest and kind of talk about what to expect this afternoon from the president's visit. Caleb, of course, has been covering the election throughout and was also there in South Haven when the president also made a visit to Mississippi in support of Cindy Hyde-Smith. Caleb, kind of talk about maybe a little bit about what you remember from the visit in South Haven and what people can expect from the presidential visit today and what he might talk about.
Well, now the thing you have to mention when we're talking about Donald Trump is sometimes you don't know what to expect, especially because the circumstances of the rally here in Tupelo today are going to be a little bit different from the South Haven rally. The South Haven rally, which I was at, was in the evening. There wasn't any other events scheduled thereafter. The president probably spoke 45 minutes, thereabouts. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 50 minutes or more, and honestly spent the first half of his speech talking about things other than the election. He was there to campaign for Cindy Hyde-Smith, but this was in the midst of the confirmation battle over Brett Kavanaugh, and nationwide, the thing that came out of the South Haven event was President appearing to mimic Brett Kavanaugh's accuser in a way that most people took as mocking. So that, outside the state, that was certainly the thing that overshadowed any attempt to speak for Cindy Hyde-Smith. He didn't bring her on stage until about the 35 minute mark. I'm not sure today if we could expect something similar. Is he going to talk about national headlines that happen to be on his mind and then throw in a few words about Cindy Hyde-Smith? Or maybe he'll be more to the point. Maybe the Tupelo event will be shorter. It's scheduled to start at 4 o'clock, and the president has an event on the Gulf Coast this evening as well. So we'll be leaving from the Tupelo event. That's one reason I believe it's at the airport, so the president can leave quickly and get to the coast. We'll see whether that keeps things short and to the point, a few words in favor of Cindy Hyde-Smith, or if he talks about other things that are on his mind. We'll have to wait and see.
Sure. And that rally, as you mentioned, is 4 o'clock. It's at the Tupelo airport. And as far as road closures, one of the best places, if people saw it, I thought we had a pretty neat graphic on the front page today, kind of summarizing all of that. But just to kind of remind people, it'll be from Gun Club Road to let me make sure I'm getting it all right. I guess it'll be Gun Club Road all the way to West Jackson. Will be closed beginning at noon.
No, it's West Jackson.
Sorry, West Jackson
is closed from Gun Club Road
all the way to Coley.
All the way. No, the closure goes south. It goes from.
Let me let you do it.
It goes from Gun Club Road is the northernmost point of the closure and continues south on West Jackson to Air Park, I believe. Yes. It's possible there will be a closure on Coley Road as Air Force One flies over, or on West Main Street, depending on which direction Air Force One approaches from. But those West Main or Coley, those won't be standing closures. That would only be as the president's plane approaches the airspace and actually flies over those roads. They want to clear underneath. But there will be a standing closure on West Jackson Street starting at noon until, I believe, the president leaves.
I think until the plane takes off.
Until the plane takes off. From Gun Club Road is the northernmost point of the closure, and Air Park Road is the southernmost point. And we're talking about not Gun Club Road North. We're talking about Gun Club Road.
Right.
Two Gun Club Road intersections with West Jackson Street.
No parking along Air Park Road.
No parking along Air Park
throughout the day. People who are going in, of course, you need to have a ticket to go. Those tickets are available at the website, the president's website, donaldjtrump.com. They're encouraged to park at the furniture market, and then a bus will be shuttling people back and forth The rally itself, I guess, and I mean, one of the cool moments will just be for people to get to even see a glimpse, if you don't get inside, of seeing Air Force One, from where you can see it in Tupelo, kind of coming and landing. It'll be there at the airport, and then the rally is going to be somewhere on the tarmac in a hangar. Will be outside.
Open air. So there were original plans to have it in a hangar. I think once the campaign found out the hangars at the Tupelo airport were maybe not as large as expected, the event was moved outdoors. So my understanding from William Moore, a reporter in the field right now, is that a podium is set up. There are bleachers behind the podium, and then there will be standing room in front of the podium as well. This in front of the terminal in open air.
Lots of coverage at djournal.com, and we'll have it throughout the day. There's a live running blog, and as we mentioned, William has kind of taken the early shift and been out there. He's noted a few things. One of the significant things, the buses have arrived now to start shuttling people over, but if you get there, the security gates won't open until 1, so you'll just kind of be in line, for a couple of hours until it starts. And he's also warning people, of course, that it's going to be cold. Also, make sure you dress warmly. I think he says at 4 o'clock the wind's going to be coming in at 10 miles an hour, and plus with the sun getting ready to set, it'll be a cool afternoon. So be sure to be prepared for that. You can follow multiple of our reporters on Twitter. We've had that list on the paper today. It's also on that website if you go to djournal.com. William, as we mentioned, is out there. Dylan Mullen will be out there. Caleb, you'll be in the pool, I guess, in the press pool for the event itself.
Adam Robinson, our photographer, and myself will be temporarily in the what they call the protective pool. This is the traveling of primarily national press that follow the president at all times.
Yeah, and then John Luke McCord, who's on his first day as our online content coordinator, he'll be out there as well, filing updates. So you can follow that again, Twitter, social media, but also at djournal.com. We'll have it all compiled and look in Tuesday's paper. We mentioned only other time a sitting president has been in Tupelo was 1934 when FDR came speaking about TVA and Tupelo's participation in that as the first Tupelo city. So, it's a significant day for Tupelo having that happen. We had a story in Sunday's paper that's worth the read. You can also find it at djournal.com, looking at some of the other visits, kind of looking back at President Roosevelt's visit, but also some of the other visits include, I guess, presidents either shortly after or shortly before they became president. Harry Truman was here in 1960 after his presidency, campaigning for John F. Kennedy. I believe that one was also at the airport, is what the story had mentioned. And then Jimmy Carter came here as a presidential candidate in 76. And George H.W. Bush was here when he was the sitting vice president in 1987, campaigning for Jack Reed, Sr. in his campaign for governor. And that'd be, I guess, a little bit over a year before he became president himself. So again, a big day for Tupelo. This, as we mentioned, is all tied into the Senate election, which you've obviously been hearing a lot about, between Cindy Hyde-Smith, who's currently serving there as the appointed senator, and Mike Espy, who's the Democrat challenging her. Caleb, you've been covering that election extensively. And again, there's a lot more coverage in Sunday's paper looking at that. Tell us about, as we kind of get now into the final hours of the campaign, what some of the main themes are of both candidates and what they're kind of trying to make their final push on.
Well, frankly, we're talking about what Cindy Hyde-Smith wants us to be talking about, and that is Trump. Getting the president to come rally for her on the day before the election is a major strategic coup for her campaign. I mean, she truly has tied herself as tightly as she possibly could to the president, almost in lieu of any other campaign message. And this is something I mentioned in the Sunday story, especially in a state like Mississippi. There are aspects of Hyde-Smith's biography that, in my opinion, could have made for a compelling campaign focused more on the candidate. She's from a rural area of the state, comes from a farming background, went to community college before graduating later from USM. And she has the kind of career and background that just strikes one from the outside as not being the kind of career that has been aimed at the Senate her whole life. There are some people, they enter politics, you just get the sense this is where they've always been aimed. She has a narrative, a personal narrative that's a little bit different, and she has not capitalized on that, as some other media outlets in the state have reported as well. She's the first woman to represent Mississippi in the United States Senate. That also is not something she talks about. Her campaign message has been laser focused on emphasizing her support for the president and, in turn, the president's endorsement of her. By contrast, Espy hasn't talked about the president so much. Hyde-Smith, the Republican in the race, Mike Espy, the Democrat. He's been trying to talk about issues where I think he believes there might be dissatisfaction among some Mississippians with her positions. And Democrats across the country, we've seen them really hammer home the idea of emphasizing protections for people with pre-existing conditions to make sure they can get insurance coverage. I think that's an issue where they think there might be an opening to peel off some voters who are concerned about their own health care access and might consider voting for a Democrat for that reason. So Mike Espy has really gone after that. He has tried to cast himself as someone who can build bridges. He's described Cindy Hyde-Smith as someone who's just voting in lockstep 100% behind Donald Trump, whereas he says he's not going to vote 100% with anyone. He's going to look at the issues and be someone who will vote on the merits and try and build bridges with the other side. I think you can see their differing strategies and her opening and closing statements in the debate last week. Cindy Hyde-Smith talked a lot about Donald Trump, even mentioning the rallies today here in Tupelo and on the coast. And his closing remarks, Mike Espy talked about Thad Cochran, the Republican whose retirement created the need for this race, and even suggested that he would seek to emulate Cochran's reputation as a statesman. So I think that says a lot about the way both these candidates have tried to pitch themselves to the voters.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Again, seeing how that all turns out. That it's tomorrow, and you'll be able to follow that live at djournal.com. We'll have election results on the website, live results that you can follow along with, and coverage of all that happens there. And then, of course, the president's visit today. Follow along at djournal.com. We'll have a running blog with updates and stories and everything else. Caleb, before we conclude, anything else to note about the visit today?
Stay tuned for more.
Great. Well, thanks for joining. And again, keep following us for the latest updates. Have a great day.